afternoon. We got Derek and Clark here from Varsity in Atlanta. First time we've been together in a very long time. I was together at Clark's 40th birthday party, surprise birthday party. First time we'd seen each other in a very long time, since Iraq.
And my wedding.
And your wedding, yeah, that's right. So we are here together to see Jordan Peterson for his We Who Wrestle tour. We Who Wrestle With God tour here in Atlanta, Georgia. It was a gift from the wife to do a meet and greet. So I'm a fan of Jordan Peterson. He said some things that he said a lot of things that I agree with. I know he himself seems to be wrestling with the concept of God and Christianity, but he seems to be getting close and on the cusp of maybe a God doing a miracle in his life. So I've read what book did I say I read? 12 Rules for Life, and I read some of another book. Can't remember what it is, but yeah. So here we are in Atlanta, Georgia for Wrestle With God tour. And Clark?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not as familiar with his work as Derek, but from what I have seen of him, he's definitely very intelligent and insightful mind. So it'll be interesting to get his take on the subject. So it'll be a good time.
So what was that? We were watching some of his videos on the way up here. What was that one thing I said? The Tree of Life. I mean, the Tree of the Knowledge of Good and Evil. So Jordan Peterson, when he was talking to, it was a bishop, I can't remember his name, but it was one of his latest videos. Jordan Peterson talked about how the Tree of the Knowledge of Good and Evil was basically, it meant to master good and evil, or basically, in not layman's terms, but in paraphrasing Jordan Peterson, he said that basically it means determining what is good and evil. Over God.
Yeah.
Yep.
For yourself.
Yeah. So, we read the passage and it said, that God told Adam and Eve they can eat from any fruit of the garden, but not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And we always wonder, why can't we know what's good and evil? Or why didn't he want Adam and Eve to know what's good and evil? Well, Jordan Peterson's thought, and I'm sure there's many other interpretations of why, is that God didn't want humans to become the authors of what's good and what's evil. Only God determines what's good and evil. And I kind of like that thought process, because Adam was supposed to be the priest and the guard of the garden. The Hebrew word for keep, when God told Adam to keep the garden, is shamar, which means to guard. And so if Adam has to guard the Garden of Eden and keep bad things out, then he has to himself know how to judge what is good and evil. So I'm thinking through it and trying to flesh it out, and it's a new interpretation I've never heard of, what Jordan Peterson mentioned, so I plan on looking into that anymore.
I think it even goes deeper than God determining what's good and evil. I think it's just what emanates from his being.
Yes.
Being good.
Yes. Yeah. God is the ultimate good, the summum bonum. And so, yeah, God being good, that is his being is good. So, yeah, it's something good. Let us know what you think in the comments. And we will let you know how we got up here super early, so we still have
It might end up not being a good move.
okay. Good morning, this is Derek and Clark, theologetics.org. This is the morning after our meet and greet with Jordan Peterson. It was an awesome experience. Once again, I'm not sure if I said it last time, but it was a gift from the wife for Christmas. First, I thought it was just I got to go see Jordan Peterson, but it was actually ended up being a meet and greet, which was extremely awesome. Blessed to have such a awesome wife.
Good wives are hard to come by.
Yeah. He who finds a wife finds a good thing, and not only who finds a wife finds a good thing, who finds a good wife finds a great thing. And so we're both thankful for our wives and what they poured into us. And
good husbands are hard to come by too.
So we just wanted to hit on some of the things that Jordan Peterson talked about our experience there, and hopefully maybe get to hear some of y'all's opinions in the comments. Comment, like, share, subscribe, and we'll get straight to it. Go ahead, Clark.
So the one, well, first we should probably talk about the couple that we met before the show began.
Absolutely.
They're been together 16 years. Mm-hmm. He said that he was agnostic, and she had been in a Christian home growing up, but she, wasn't living a Christian lifestyle at all.
Raised in church.
Yeah, raised in church as a kid. But because of Jordan Peterson's journey that he's been on, the husband especially been really interested in his work, and through everything that Jordan Peterson's been saying and his development towards Christianity had brought their whole family to church and to Christ. Yep. And it was just amazing to hear that it's good to remember that Christ will use, God will use everything, anything and everything to bring us to him. And I feel like there are others that had similar stories.
Yeah, the other couple we sat next to had a similar story. Not so much, but they definitely. Jordan Peterson, he'll talk a lot about scripture and a lot about the Bible, and he knows it very well. He is definitely making his way through. If he hasn't read the Bible all the way through yet, he's definitely not skipping any parts. And he will say a lot of things that will get other people thinking and looking into what he's talking about. Maybe they weren't into Christianity to begin with, but when he's talked about his philosophy or whatever else, he definitely mentions scripture a lot. So I was even thinking about, we didn't mention this, but I was even thinking about the security guy that was sitting in front of the stage. I was like, even he is hearing all of this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder what his background is, what he's thinking about as he's hearing that. Because he's just sitting there and he's hearing the whole message, and I just wonder, you just never know what God's doing in somebody's life, and what they may hear, and how a seed may be planted, and God waters and gives the increase. So you just never know. So he started off it was We Who Wrestle With God tour, and I didn't know this, but every single stop he goes to, it's a different talk.
Yeah. So
this one he touched on he started off talking about the 10 Commandments and expounding, giving his analysis of the 10 Commandments, and gave the story of Moses from the time he met God at the burning bush to the time they entered into the promised land. And so we really liked what he said about the second commandment. And what was that?
Yep. So about not taking the Lord's name in vain, and how and I agree. It's among a lot of Christian circles, they just think about not swearing or just flippantly saying explaining something to God, and but he's comparing it to the religious hypocrites of the day, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and how they will go off and pray in public,
right?
Just to get the attention of others and the reverence of people around them. So he was comparing the second commandment to doing something in God's name for your own benefit.
Right.
So I thought that was real insightful and made a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, and he was right that a lot of times we thought we used to mean it meant, and I'm sure some people still do that. It means like using the Lord's name in vain, like you stub your toe and you say, oh my God or whatever. But it goes a lot deeper than that. For it to be the 10 Commandments, it goes a lot deeper than just using. I mean, we can even go to say that God, G-O-D, isn't the name. It's not really the name, it's what we call it. It's really more of a title. So but it goes a lot deeper than that. It goes into how we live our lives. If we claim to be Christians, if we claim to be believers, then our lives should reflect that, and that is using God's name in vain also. And back to the prayer thing, he wasn't saying that you shouldn't pray in public. He was basically saying what's the heart and the reason behind when you do pray in public. Because he said with the Pharisees, the reason was to become popular among the people. It was all a selfish thing. Like if you're out with your family and you're praying over your meal at a restaurant, that's
right.
It could be wrong if the reason you're doing it is wrong.
Yep.
If that's what you do and you're giving reverence to God before your meal, and that's the heart behind it, cool. But yeah, that we really liked how he went into the second commandment. Anything else you want to say about the second commandment?
No.
And then what he said about the third commandment, about keeping the Sabbath holy. He said that how do you word it? Basically, it's better to keep an hour than to keep no hours.
Right. When he was younger, he was probably around 13. He was saying he, for various reasons, started becoming uninterested in going to church.
Right.
Because he was raised in the Protestant vein of Christianity. So he wasn't until years later realized that the reasoning of Christians only going to church 1 hour a week, the rest of the week living as if they weren't Christians, essentially. But even if that were true about all Christians, at least they would be giving 1 hour a week.
Yeah.
And 1 hour is better than 0.
Right.
So I don't know if that's how true that is about what percentage of those proclaiming to be Christian, but there are definitely a decent amount of people that do that.
Yeah. So I would take it a step further, because we are believers. Is that our entire lives should be lived in worship. We should be worshiping God with everything that we do in our lives. Bible says that whatever you do, whether you eat, drink, sleep, whatever you do to the glory of God, and that's just not 1 day a week. Even in Scripture, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong. They didn't just go to the synagogue, They didn't just go to the temple on 1 day a week. Sometimes they only went to the temple for, I don't want to say it wrong, but they didn't go to the Sabbath was used for rest. And so I believe, and I have to look into this, could be wrong, but I believe that they didn't just go to the temple on the Sabbath. Once again, I won't speak any more into that because I could be wrong. But anyway, our entire lives should be lived in worship to God, everything that we do. But 1 day is better. 1 hour on Sunday is better than nothing.
Yeah,
absolutely. At least you're doing something, and as long
setting
as you're
aside that time for
absolutely.
God and reverence of Him and learning about Him.
Right, absolutely. So, pardon us if you hear the dog, so once again, it was an awesome experience. We got to give him one of our. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna. I was gonna say we tried to ask. There are a lot of people there, a lot of questions being asked, so they only got to a few of them. But we tried to ask what Jordan Peterson's, if he had personally investigated the historical fact, essentially, that the tomb of Jesus was empty, and if for himself, if he had looked into if the resurrection was the best explanation, as we know it to be, but they didn't unfortunately get to that question. And but those of you who have kept up or know somewhat about his journey, he's been kind of secretive of where he's at and what he believes about Jesus, but it seems like he's getting really close. So yeah, prayers for him, and obviously God's been using him throughout the process.
Yeah. So I guess maybe we should give, for those that maybe don't know about Jordan Peterson, because you knew I guess very little about him.
Not a lot.
Yeah. So we'll give some background of Jordan Peterson. As far as what I've known and what I've read a couple of his books, and there's one more that I'm kind of struggling my way through because it's very heady. But he basically, well, maybe not his background, but what he believes about God anyway. And so what he says about, if someone asks if he believes in God, he's like, he doesn't know how he should answer that, or if it's anybody's business what he believes about God, because believing God, according to Jordan Peterson, is kind of like where we're going back to the second commandment. To say you believe in God is no laughing matter. It is really something that someone should take seriously. And a lot of times we go around saying we believe in God, blah 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 blah, whatever. But we're basically living as functional atheists. Our lives do not reflect that we believe in God. If you say you believe something, that you should live according to that belief. And so he sees it as a very serious thing to say, I believe in God. And he says that he lives as if there is a God, basically. At least he tries to live as if there is a God. We all fall short, and he definitely knows he's imperfect, and that's why he chooses to answer that question that way. He's very particular in how he answers questions. He doesn't just throw answers out there. He's very careful with his words. That's why a lot of times he uses words that we have no idea, we have to look up, but he's very careful with his words. And so he definitely seems like he's on his way to becoming a Christian. And he might even say in his own heart, he might even say he is a Christian.
Possibly.
Because he definitely, he says the Bible is more than true. It's basically the truth that all other truths are based upon.
The precondition for truth.
Right, yeah. He says the Bible is here, and even if you have Shakespeare and everything else, every other story that we have, especially in Western culture, Judeo-Christian cultures, the Bible is at the root of it. And so with everything else, is basically an offshoot of the truths that are in the Bible. And he says that, he says that the Bible happened, but it's happening every day, and it will continue to happen. So the way he reads into it, it's, I'm not sure if he will believe everything in the Bible is historical fact.
Right.
I think that may be his stumbling block. Maybe he probably doesn't believe everything in the Bible is historical fact, but he believes the Bible is true. It's more true than anything else, if that makes sense.
So anyone watching who is wondering, I personally wouldn't be endorsing him every idea of Jordan Peterson's.
Right.
But the path that he's on, he definitely has some very insightful views. Some seem to align with the Bible, and some, possibly not so much. But yeah, as we said, be in prayer that he continues his journey, and that he moves closer to God as he does.
Yeah. So definitely don't take our word for it. Check out some of his videos. He did a series on the book of Exodus. with Jonathan Pajot and what's the guy? Jonathan Prager, and I think even Ben Shapiro. I think Ben Shapiro was on there. It was a whole panel, and they went through the book of Exodus. It was a series that they did together. So check out his books. Check out his clips on YouTube. And like I said, don't take our word for anything. Check them out. Make your own opinion of them, as you should anything else. Theologetics believes that you should take everything we say with a grain of salt. So if you choose to check them out, this is our autographed poster, the We Who Wrestle With God tour. So many dates. He said he's halfway through, so I definitely recommend checking them out. And like I said, form your own opinion. If you like them, you like them. If you don't, you don't. Cool. But definitely pray for the man, because he is definitely a influential voice in our time, and I think he's a much needed influential voice in our time. And definitely pray for the man. Pray for those that you know who are lost and or who are seeking, who are skeptics. Pray for your Christian friends and family. You never know what they're going through. So
cool.
I think that's all I got.
Yeah.
So theologetics.org. Check out our TheoTab app, available on Android and Apple. Check out our website. We have blogs, papers. We have the 33 day devotional on the attributes of God, and
Tim's new book.
Tim's new book, yes. Defender of Dragons. I've started making my way through it, and it's really interesting so far. So I would definitely. This is his first book, so go support our boy Tim. It's a novel. It's fiction, and it's really interesting.
Yeah. Yep. Check it out.
Yep. Or should we say?
No, it's Gilbert Guttelbacher,
Okay.
Defender of Dragons.
Okay.
Yep.
Gilbert Guttelbacher, Defender of Dragons. So if you like fantasy, makes you laugh.
And I'll say I haven't read through the whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so far so good.
Right. Available on Amazon. I bought one copy off of Amazon. So.
Yep. I think if you want to get it just online version, I think it's free. I think.
Okay.
But yeah, if you want your own physical copy, you know, it's a good price.
So I bought a copy. I'm supporting my boy. Whatever. Support your local businesses and your friends.
Yep.
Don't ask for discounts or freebies. They're in business to make business. They're doing things. Yeah. So, all right. That's my worldly advice for today. All right. Peace. We'll see y'all next time.